breaking, and this was really just breaking as soon as we came into the show tonight. So we haven't all had a huge chance to get into it, but I think we'll understand it because, unfortunately, it's something we've been talking about for a long time now. Biden's FBI was spying on Republican senators under the Arctic Frost investigation. Senator Grassley has come out and put out this information. I believe there's a statement now as well from Dan Bongino. And Senator Grassley put this out, released a document on X showing the FBI conducted surveillance on 8 Republican senators, part of an investigation called Arctic Frost. Now, this is the same investigation that targeted our organization, TPUSA, in the wake of January 6th. Grassley wrote, "This document shows the FBI spied on 8 of my Republican Senate colleagues during the Arctic Frost investigation into, quote, election conspiracy. Arctic Frost later became Jack Smith's elector case against Trump. Biden FBI weaponization equals worse than Watergate." This is what Morgan was referring to earlier. And let's go down the list. So an FBI special agent conducted a preliminary toll analysis on limited toll records associated with the following U.S. senators. So they're talking about specific phones in this case. Senator Mike Kelly, Senator Lindsey Graham, Bill Hagerty, Josh Hawley, Dan Sullivan, Tommy Tuberville, Ron Johnson, Cynthia Loomis, and Marsha Blackburn. Morgan, you worked for Senator Tuberville. What's going on here?
I was there during this period. I mean, they're flat out trying to stop people.
So under the 2-hop rule, your phone was probably hit.
For sure,
caught up in this as well.
No, absolutely, it was absolutely caught up in it. They hated him. They hated the blob, as I call it in Washington, and it is the uniparty blob. Cannot stand people like Tommy Tuberville because they can't control him and because he's off script, and they cannot stand that, and so that's why they went after him, and. It's disgusting to me to see our own government going after elected officials. He holds the election certificate. He was elected by 6.5 million people in the state of Alabama to represent them in the halls of Congress, in the U.S. Senate. And here they're spying on him. What are they trying to get exactly?
Power. This reminds me of COINTELPRO, right? I mean, the government spied on different organizations, obviously ones I don't agree with, but still they spied on them, and that led to assassinations. And that was a horrible thing.
They're using the apparatus of government at the highest level, at the FBI, at the CIA, at the IRS, at all of the 3-letter agencies to harass and dig dirt on Republicans. It just cuts one way.
It's worth noting that just about an hour ago, Senate Majority Leader Thune mentioned, he tweeted, he said, "I have grave concerns about a new report showing that the Biden-era FBI spied on Republican senators, and I fully support Senate committees getting to the bottom of this outrageous abuse of power and weaponization of the government." That was also retweeted by Harmeet Dillon, the Assistant Attorney General. So it is a positive step, or at least I think that it's a positive step, that a lot of the people in D.C., people in the DOJ and in the Senate, they're paying attention to this, and it looks like this isn't going to be something that just gets swept.
We have got to root them out.
Absolutely.
We have got to root them out. And we don't have a lot of time to do it. We're going to lose the country if we do not root this kind of corruption out of our government.
Kash Patel was also tweeting about it as well. So, like I said, it's obviously not a guarantee that something's going to be done, but at least the right people are aware of it and making it known. So I do look forward to some kind of hearings on Capitol Hill, and I mean, there should be an investigation by the DOJ. It
has to be ordered by the president. The president, and I believe he's going to do it. I believe he's going to. I work for Kash Patel, and that's a guy that's not going to back down. He's going to chase it out. But we've got to support them because they have declared war on us, and they've said very clearly what they want to do. The Democrats have said, we're going to pack the Supreme Court. We're going to get rid of the filibuster. We're going to make D.C. and Puerto Rico a state. We're going to stuff the Senate. We're going to, write law from the Oval Office and never mind Congress. And then we're going to use all of the tools of government so that you never win an election again.
So this is why I keep saying to all those people that come out there and say, well, hold on, guys, if we do something, what's to stop the left from using it against us? What's to stop I say, guys,
they're using
just look, what did they had 4 years They had 4 years of power, and what did they do with it?
What have they not used?
They were using it to round up patriots, 1,600 of them after Jan 6. They didn't care if you were throwing punches or just walking around peacefully or praying on the steps of the Capitol. You didn't even have to go to the Capitol. Some of the Jan 6ers were arrested who hadn't even gone to the Capitol complex. And then what did they do? They went a step further. Who did they launch investigations into? Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA, as well as 92 other Republican groups and individuals were placed under scrutiny. I'm sure, probably like all of us in the room. And now we're finding that in Arctic frost, this massive sweeping operation included 8 sitting U.S. senators. This is like when East Germany fell. And the Stasi records became, do you guys know about this?
Yeah.
That when the Stasi records became available for public view, you could go to the East German secret police headquarters and request to see your file. And if you ever go watch this movie, massive shout out. You absolutely have to see it. It's called The Lives of Others. I watch it every couple of years. The Lives of Others is the greatest movie on communism that has ever been made. And it is told through the eyes of a German secret police agent as he's conducting surveillance on this guy who's a playwright that he's worried is putting anti-communist messaging into his plays, and his girlfriend who is also like the leading lady in the plays, and the way that the party and the manipulation and everything that goes on, but it's all through us watching through little cameras and listening on the headphones the entire time. And at the very end, the guy goes to request his own file and then says, oh my gosh, all of these things that I thought were just random occurrences, it was all an intelligence operation that was being run against me, and these horrible things that were going on in my life. And it's obviously based on so many true stories, but this is what happens. And we saw this during COVID. So let's go back a little bit. People say, where does this come from? And yeah, there's philosophy, and yes, it comes from the 60s, but I think there's something in human nature as well. And I want to ask you about this, Seamus. There's something in human nature, and we saw it come out during COVID, that people love having power over another. And you remember the snitches and the snitch lines in the UK and in some states? Tim Waltz was doing this. The snitch lines. Oh, I can't wait to snitch on my neighbor. What is that about human nature, Seamus?
So there's something about us as humans which is just constantly trying to drag us to hell. We do have a fallen nature. There is goodness in humans. There's good things about us, but there is a woundedness that we carry with us because of our first parents. And I believe it was Chesterton who said this, that original sin is the most controversial but best evidenced Christian belief. It's like, if you just look at the world and history and how it's operated, you go like, there's something wrong with these people, right? Yes. Everyone isn't like this, perfect person, as Rousseau would say that we are corrupted by society. The truth is, we like power. We're prideful creatures. We believe that we are God. We're constantly trying to make ourselves gods. There's a great quote from Fulton Sheen. He said, I'm going to butcher this, so forgive the paraphrasing, but he said, it now comes down to those who believe God became man and those who believe man will become God.
Yeah.
Charlie was a huge Fulton Sheen guy. Charlie and I were always sending. Charlie would tell me that he said, Jack, you know what I'm doing today? I said, what? He goes, I just got Fulton Sheen and he's on repeat. I've got the long
God
clips.
Bless him.
I've got the long clips on YouTube, and I'm just watching Fulton Sheen over and over and over. I said, man, there's a Catholic you could put on. He's #1 show in America, by the way, when he was on TV, #1 show. And you're right, there's something about the fallen nature. There's something about people wanting that power. They say pride was the first sin. And I think there's something when you see this and it gets unlocked when you give those types of people absolute power. And we saw it with Merrick Garland, we're seeing it with Jack Smith, and we saw it in East Germany. It's the same exact part of human nature that goes all the way down to even the very lower levels. And what did we see? What else did we see after Jan 6? We saw family members turning in their own relatives.
Yes.
They would say, go ahead.
Well, the idea of going no contact, that's something you hear from the left all the time, right? If you have a family member that is in somehow upsetting you and politically has an opinion that you don't like, or they just stop, break off the connection. That's the kind of thing that cults do, right? Like you should be able to reconcile or deal with the fact that your family is going to have different opinions to you, and it's perfectly fine to disagree because they're still family. The left behaves like a cult, and I don't want to get into the specific definition of cult and stuff like that, but when you have a group of people telling you that you should break off contact with your family because they disagree with you, they are not your friend because they will kick you to the curb the instant that you do something that they disagree with. Your family is probably not going to do that.
Dude, my grandma lived with me when she was dying of leukemia, and word got out that I didn't think J6 was so bad.
Oh my gosh,
And
you're an
a
animal.
family member had to come by and had this. I walked in on a secret little meeting he was having, a struggle session with my poor grandma, dying of leukemia, basically calling me an insurrectionist for not condemning J6 and thinking it was as bad as 9/11 or Pearl Harbor. It was wild.
Oh, listen, I was in the Secretary of Defense's office on J6, standing next to the Secretary of Defense, listening to the calls that came in. And I would tell people at home, like, yeah, Nancy Pelosi called in. And was she terrified? No. What did she want? She wanted a sandwich. She said she was hungry. She wanted the Department of Defense to deliver her food like we were Uber Eats. And liberal friends of mine are saying, you're making that up.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Same lady who got her hair done during COVID, right? In lockdowns.
Right.
Yeah.
Same-
It adds up.
I don't know if he coined the term, but he might have. But John Doyle talks about a theater kid occupied government.
I've seen
I've
that.
seen this a few times. Yeah.
You can totally see that with these people. Like, I was there and I almost died. It was horrifying.
Do I need to break out? So when AOC claimed what she claimed on January 6th, I threw up a map break and I drew a map of where the Capitol is and how far away her office is from any of the things that were actually taking place. For example, you could be on the other side of the Capitol and not know that there was anything taking place that was untoward on the, I guess that would be the west side of the Capitol. If you're on the east side, you would have no idea. You have no idea whatsoever. And how do I know this? Because I was coming down Capitol Hill that morning, or I should say roughly around that afternoon. It started in the morning. We were watching Trump's speech. I was there with Raheem Kassam. We're coming down the hill. And, at first it's just, hey, it seems like there's a lot of guys in red hats over there. Yeah, I see. And then what did we see? A peaceful crowd. Now, they were on the steps, to be sure, but they were peaceful right up until the point where the Capitol Police threw flashbangs into the crowd. That is what set off the violence that day. It was the response to this, which was totally a break with the rules of engagement. There were no calls to disperse. There were no loudspeakers used. There was nothing like that. They threw flashbangs into a peaceful crowd, and I will always remember that because I saw it with my bare eyes.
But Jack, there were no federal agents at
That's right.
Right.
Definitely not 275.
Well, this is the other thing. I remember we had just finished the summer of unhinged leftist rioting where billions of dollars in damage was caused and anywhere between 20 and 30 people died depending on the numbers you're looking at.
Billions.
And
Raised
yes,
for
billions.
BLM.
Exactly. Raised for BLM. Many homes were destroyed. Many businesses were destroyed. And what were we told? We were told, well, rioting is the language of the unheard.
Right.
And then on January 6th, they went, you know why these people are rioting? Because we're listening to them too much. We need to make sure. And so they said rioting's the language of the unheard when the left was rioting. And then when the right had like a riot that was instigated by feds, they went, well, the only way to stop this from happening further is to ensure that they're totally unheard forever. They banned them from every platform. They started throwing people in prison.
We put 25,000 troops at the Capitol.
Yeah.
To get into my office,
Remember
I had to
that.
go by 25,000 troops. By some context, there were 2,500 troops in Afghanistan. Nancy put 25,000 at
Oh
the
my
Capitol.
gosh. I'm
And it did
surprised
not
Biden
open
didn't leave the guns
building.
there.
It's a public building. The Capitol is a public building. You can go walk in it today. Anybody can go walk in the Capitol, and I suggest you do. It's a public building, and it was not opened back up until Republicans were back in charge of the House and Senate. It was shut down, and that's the way the left wanted it. They didn't want the smelly Walmart people coming to visit the Capitol, coming to visit their offices. They didn't want them in there, and J6 was a great excuse to keep them out.
To Seamus's point, again, what they said didn't have meaning. It was all about exercising power.
Right.
They don't, there's no, you can't call them hypocrites because they don't have principles in the first place. One of the things that I'm seeing a lot now is like, when you're like, oh, we have to worry about the fact that there are terrorists that want to terrorize Americans for their political beliefs. They want to use violence to get Americans to change their political beliefs. And then the left will say things like, oh, now you're not pro free speech. Now you're a hypocrite, blah, blah, you don't have principles. The fact of the matter is, this is another exercise of power, and it has nothing to do with what they believe, because they don't believe in free speech. They don't believe in any of the things that they will assert. And we've seen it for the past decade. So when they go to, when they find conservatives or they assert that conservatives are hypocrites, ignore them. Ignore them. We have the House, the Senate, and the presidency, even if only slim margins. The government should be using every bit of legitimate power that it has to put the terrorist threat away, put these people in jail. If they're making terroristic threats, if they're aiding terrorists, if they're engaging in violence against police, put them in jail for a long, long time. Every legitimate use of power that the government can engage in, they should be.
Phil, you're calling for justice.
I am. Absolutely.
What you mentioned about hypocrisy, I just want to point this out. The people who level accusations of hypocrisy the most tend to be those who don't actually believe in anything. Yeah. So it's really easy for them to say you're not living up to their beliefs because, like, their beliefs are, I should get to do whatever I want all the time. It's like, well, you are very principled, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the morality is fixed to a weather vane. It's never one way. There's no center to it.
It's like it's easy to not be hypocritical when your perspective changes literally the second popular morality does.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't think that there is any legitimate argument that the left can possibly make against this, seeing as they've not only used every bit of legitimate government power, but it seems, if you go by what Chuck Grassley was saying, it seems that they've actually even gone and violated the law in an effort to keep their own political power. So I'm not worried about the things that the left accuses me of or anyone else on the right of. Those days are gone. Yeah. Now we're in a position.
It passed in like 2015.
They
accused us of being racist and fascist and authoritarian and everything else. And eventually it's like the boy who cried wolf, right? Just tired. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And then they started mixing things up. They're like, they're Russians. We're like, what? You ran out of everything else and now we're Russians? Like, come on, dude, go back to the lab and write better material.
It's ridiculous.
Or Putin bootlicker.
Exactly.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.